and welcome once again. We're back for another episode of Bill Has Opinions, your can't miss Bill shit. I'm Laura Lavoie, and I'm here with Bill Perkins, who has opinions.
Yes. Hi.
And also a B. I actually wished right before I hit the countdown opening, you were saying something about a B, and I kind of wish I had let it record for a second before I hit that. So
that would have been funny, right? To start off the show with.
Yeah.
There's a B in here.
Yeah. You're safe now? Are you bee free? Or are you still?
I mean, it's still the situation's still tenuous, but I'm not worried about it because I'm not afraid of bees. Like, listen, worst case scenario, it'll sting me and I'll get real mad.
Right.
But I'm not like I won't die from it or anything, so it's all fine.
Well, good. Well, other than a bee, how are you doing? It's been forever since we've had a show.
Yeah, see, she got the B. There it goes. It's out. Good day, B.
Good job! Yay!
How am I doing? I'm doing swell. I can't. I don't know. I can't think anything is wrong right now.
You're at the lake.
I'm at the lake. Yeah, I got a little sun, allergies, but whatever.
Right. Well, I see that you're at the lake. Like I see that you're in an RV.
Yeah.
So that's my visual clue.
There's a lake right there, but I was gonna try and sit out by it, but it was too bright and noisy to do so. So I just decided, I'll come inside.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I've been gone for
You've been busy. Yeah.
I was in España. Which was delightful. If you have a chance to go to Spain, I recommend you go to Spain.
Okay. I've never been to Spain, but I kind of like the music or something. What is it? How's the song go? That's not how it goes. I can't remember now how it begins. It's a good song though, by Three Dog Night. If you're not familiar,
I am not. I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay. Well. Anyway,
I also know that Mr. Jones likes the Spanish dancing. That's what I do know from his song.
Yes, he does. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So pass me a bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of bottles.
What do you got to drink?
Oh, man, I'm drinking this here. This is themed for this evening. Dos Equis, which Equis.
Is Equis plural for equus?
Yes, clearly. Two horses, right? That's what it.
Two horses. That's why it has two red. Those are horses. There, you can see the legs and the head and the tail.
That's the brand from the ranch.
I'm not responsible for incorrect information.
Stay thirsty, my friends. I don't always drink this beer, but I do when I'm at the lake.
Yes. As far as I know, Jay, I will tell you the rain probably does fall mainly on the plains because we were not in the plains and we never had any rain. So, because we were in the mountains,
how many people have asked you that since you got
a lot of people? Yes,
because I know I did.
Yes,
it was funny when Jay did.
Well, and I made the joke several times while we were traveling too.
Oh, okay. So I guess it's the thing people like to say, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's a lovely rhyme.
It is. It is a good rhyme.
It is, and if you want to learn your diction, then is that all you have to drink? Is the Dos Equis?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them.
A whole bunch.
I've got Quattro Equis.
Well, good.
What do you got?
I have an all-day IPA. Just because I bought a.
You can't even make a stretch that's horse related.
No, yeah, I really can't. I mean, it's got a panel van on the side.
Here you go. Here's how it's horse related. If you go to a horse race, you'll probably be there all day.
See what you did there.
Yeah, because I did go to steeplechase once. We can circle back to that. But but I was there all day. I looked like this when I got done. I was bright pink because they do that about this time of year, I guess, in places. It's always like in the spring, early spring around Easter or something, and hot, hot. This was in South Carolina. The Camden steeplechase. If you ever want to, you could drive to that easily.
Sure.
One day. I think they do one in Tryon too, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, they do it in Tryon. My neighbor was just at one in Tryon recently.
Okay.
And she said she thought of me because I do work with racehorses, but the kind of horses I do work with don't do steeplechase.
You know what else beer's got to do with racehorses?
What?
Sometimes after you drink a lot of beer, you'll say you have to pee like one.
That's true. That's true.
I don't say that, but I know I've said it once or twice. I don't know how. I don't actually know how a racehorse pees, but
I've witnessed it.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. They're very large animals.
Yeah, I imagine they hold quite the amount of pee, especially when they're drinking beer, huh?
Yes, definitely when they're drinking beer. For sure. For sure. But so this episode is about horses. This is actually a rescheduled topic. We were originally going to do this back in March when I came back from Ocala, where I was working on the horse farm. I was working on the horse farm.
She got up early to go muck the stalls.
No, I got up early to go watch the horses. I didn't know. I'm an indoor kid. I did no actual work. I watched them.
You did no mucking of stalls?
I did zero mucking of stalls.
No brushing of horses or any of that?
No. Plus, these are real fancy, real expensive racehorses. They're not going to let some yuck like me brush them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's not an all-inclusive experience where you're like,
wrong.
Brush the expensive horse. But it is a really cool thing. And I was a horse girl growing up. So not like I was still an indoor kid. So I wasn't a horse girl that like went to a farm and rode horses, but I collected model horses and I liked horses and I read a lot about horses. And I thought one day I'd like to work with horses, but not actually work with horses. And that's what I do. So hooray.
You wanted to tertiarily work with horses.
I do. I work adjacent to horses.
I will support the people who do work with the horses.
Correct. That's about my speed. I will take it. I am just fine with that. But so I know you told me before the show that you were going to have me do an intro, which basically is that. But what do you have to say about horses? I do want to hear from you.
Oh, my horse. Okay, my horse stories. Well, I told you before the show, and I don't even remember this. So this is what I'm told, right? Because it was before you're the age of remembering things. But my mother told me that we went to the state fair, I guess, when I was 2 or 3 or something, and I was looking at a horse, and the horse sneezed in my face. So yeah. And I have no recollection of it, so I don't hold anything against the horse. Like it's not. I mean, even if it happened now, I still wouldn't be mad at the horse. I don't guess.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like when your cat sneezes in your face. Like, what are you gonna do? You can't tell them to cover their mouth.
Right. Yeah. Like, what do you? Yeah. If the horse did cover his mouth, he'd probably like knock you out. Like, trying to move his hoof up there. You'd be worse off than him just sneezing in your face, is what I'm saying,
That is absolutely true. Yeah, no, you'd rather him just sneeze in your face. So did you catch like a horse flu or anything from this experience?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think so. I don't think I caught any horse related, ailments.
Well,
so
the good news for us is very few viruses are transmissible between horse and humans. So
yeah, equine,
if any.
Equine, what's the thing? The mosquitoes will give you a thing.
Yeah, but that's not transmitted from the horse directly. It's
no, it requires mosquitoes, which are really they cause all kinds of problems. Mosquitoes are awful. They're just no good. So yeah, other horsey thing. Do I have any other horse? I don't think. No, that and the steeplechase is about the extent of my experience with horses.
I mean, have you ever sat down and watched like the Kentucky Derby or anything like that?
No, I don't really like sports on TV, so I don't. I don't tend to watch. Like if like when I was dragged to steeplechase, like that, okay, that's nice, but I'm there. You know what I mean? Like I'm more of like I only like sports in person. I don't really. It's hard for me to really get into stuff like on the TV. I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't have a frame of reference. It doesn't matter. It's just something happening somewhere to me. So
except for Thanksgiving Day football game, which you will watch.
Well, that's because that's already on when I get there. So I'm like, might as well watch it. Whatever,
Right. Well, and so when I was a kid, I would watch the Kentucky Derby, and then I would forget about the Preakness. And then if the same horse won the Preakness, I would watch the Belmont Stakes because then I wanted
because now it's a big deal. Yeah.
Right. If the same horse didn't win, I didn't necessarily care about the Belmont Stakes either.
I mean, so what? Some horse is going to win a thing.
Right. Although that changed, all changed last year, and I will talk about that in a moment. But
okay.
But one of the things I did, this was before I even really watched football. Football was always on at home at my house because my parents were fans. But the reason I liked watching the Kentucky Derby is I could have it on all day, and it would just be like the pre-Derby, just blah, blah, blah. Hey, look at the pretty horses. We're going to talk about like this jockey or this trainer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like human interest stuff. But the race itself is literally 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's just exciting for 2 minutes, and then it's over, and then you're like, okay, well, I did that.
Yeah.
Which weirdly is also the reason I like football, not because football only takes 2 minutes, but like versus a baseball game, which can be like 17 hours.
Oh my God, that's the longest sport in the history of the world, and it's boring too.
Whereas football,
yeah,
it's only 17 games a year unless you make it to the postseason. It's only 4 quarters. It's only going to last so long, and I understand how much time I have to commit to it.
Sure, yeah. If honestly, a football had no timeouts, it would take like an hour and a half, maybe.
Right, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
You'd be like, all right, well now we're out of here, But
right, I mean, technically, it would. If you played not that you could, because people would literally die. But if you played football start to finish, it would take exactly an hour because every quarter is 15 minutes.
Sure, yeah.
But you would literally kill people doing that, so nobody's going to do that. But but yes, horse racing. And before we go to our station break real quick, so watching racing changed last year when I didn't watch the Derby and I didn't watch the Preakness, but my client had a horse in the Belmont Stakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that and watched all the pre-race stuff because I wanted to, they did interviews with her and all that. And it was exciting. And then, it's a field of whatever, 10, 12 horses. And you're like, okay, well, he's in the race. He's gonna run, but you don't anticipate the one horse winning, right? You're like, I'll cheer him on, but whatever.
Unless you're a betting man.
Well, yeah, but that damn horse won that damn race.
Yeah. Well, so hey, so was he not in the other two, or was he just not?
He was not. He didn't. Okay. The reason he got in the Belmont was because he won a race right before the Belmont. That's a qualifier.
Okay.
So he hadn't run the other 2 races.
So some other horse didn't qualify, right? That had previously been in one of the other 2.
Well, all the horses of both other races were still in it.
Oh, okay. So they just had an extra slot open. Yeah,
you can put more horse. Yeah, it just depends on who qualifies. So
all right.
You qualify for it if you're in the Kentucky Derby, and especially if you win and the Preakness. But then there are also different qualifiers to be in the race too. And some of them are other races. Some of them are numbers of races. So like there's a bunch of different things that contribute to how you qualify.
Is it like, so, well, we can talk about, I'll ask you this question when we come back from the station break, because I got a question about this now.
All right. Hold your horses then.
All right.
Because I told you I made a thing yesterday. I have a very special station break. I hope our viewer appreciates this station break because I do think, it is, I think it's good because well, I'll show you what it is. We're just going to put this up on the screen. You can get some merch. If you scan this QR code, nobody can see. Bill's like, what? Nobody can see that because he's off the screen right now. But if you scan this QR code, you get taken directly to our store where you can buy our merch. They still can't see you, Bill.
I know, that's just funny to me.
Yeah. You can see you here. But that means we have two different shirt styles, our classic logo and our new logo. And then, of course, you can get the wide variety of Stay Shitty merchandise, which comes in all kinds of things. You can get it on a mug. You can get it on wall art.
Yeah, different colors, different mascots, different sayings.
Indeed. All, yes, stay shitty, my lord, stay shitty, my lady, stay shitty, my good noble, and the most recent edition, stay shitty, matey, for your nautical bathroom theme. So, yes, go buy some merch. So I'm going to leave this up for just a second so our viewer can scan this QR code. So we're just going to do that. And yeah, see, now I'm scanning it and it's taking me to the page. So yeah,
look at
once
that.
you scan it, you go here.
Right.
What did you say?
So it took you right there, and then I made the face I was making when you didn't have me on camera. So,
but I wasn't watching. So anyway, yes, I hope some people, if you're watching today or watching later, you might check out our store. Maybe spend a few bucks, get a T-shirt, get some wall art.
It'll, we'll upgrade a thing or something.
Yes, yes. Well, I do actually want a new camera.
Yeah.
For when we finish we're building a basement studio.
Right.
So eventually, I want a better camera.
You'll need new stuff. Yeah.
I do. I will. Yeah.
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 So
I'll need chairs. We need chairs to sit on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We should get some
maybe even a green screen.
Some director chairs that have our names on the back.
But nobody will see the names on the back because they'll be on the back.
But they'll know that we have them because we'll talk about it.
They will indeed. All right. So you said you had a question.
Yeah. Okay. So the racing. So you were telling me in order to qualify, you can either win one of these other races, or you might win or place us in a series of other races or something like that. So is there a point system like there is in like NASCAR or something?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this is an incredibly dumbed down version. So internet, if this gets made into a clip and I'm wrong, please tell me. But basically, yeah, so all horses start out, obviously they've never won a race. In their very first race, they've never won anything. And at that point, they are doing like these provisional races. It's not the official word for it, but basically like beginner races, right? Mm-hmm. And once they win one of those races, it's called, they call it breaking the maiden. So they now move on to more advanced races. So once they've won something, they can move on to more advanced races. So depending on what races they win in their early career, they qualify for more races at different tracks around the country. So every track, there are different qualifiers to get you into every track. Mm. The field is already set for the Kentucky Derby. All the horses have already been announced. So they've all been, because it's 3-year-olds, they've all won the right races. They've all qualified for it. And then these horses, unless something happens to them after this race, will immediately go on, whether they win or not, will immediately go on to the Preakness and to the Belmont. But sometimes horses drop out for a variety of reasons, whether it's injury or, they just don't want to run or whatever.
Quiet quitting.
Yeah, quiet quitting.
It's funny because it sounds to me like it's one of those. It's kind of like when you work in a large organization. If you're really good at a thing, we got some more stuff you can do.
Correct. Yes, if you're really good at running, you get to run more.
And after a while, the horse is just like, I just don't want to run anymore. I'm done. I'm tired. I've had it with this running.
Well, that actually is what happened to Arcangelo. So Arcangelo ran in the Belmont Stakes and he won, but he wasn't in either of the other two races. And it wouldn't have mattered if he was, because obviously at that point they didn't win. So it doesn't matter. By the time the Preakness happened, we weren't going to have a Triple Crown winner anyway. So So he ran a great race and he won, and it was really exciting, and it was super fun to be working with that team during that time. And then he went on to another prestigious race. You know, non-horse race people know about the Triple Crown, right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah. But
there are a ton.
Yeah, gotcha.
There are a ton more races.
They got their own stuff. There's like it's a niche for those folks who are into horse racing. You got a whole circuit or something that they're into, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And so he was able to, because he won the Belmont, he was able to go into the Travers Stakes, and he won that one too. It was like a month or so after the Belmont. Mm-hmm. And then he was supposed to go to the Breeders' Cup at the end of the year, but he did injure himself. And it was a minor injury. He's actually perfectly fine now, but they discovered it right before the race. And if you can't run the horse then, because that's when you get all the horror stories and the things
I got
that people
you.
talk about. So.
Tore an ACL or something.
Yeah, it was a very specific injury on his. I almost said paw, on his paw. On his hoof, and he did have a surgery for it, but he's fine now. He's just retired, and as a stud career. So now he's just
making money,
lots of babies,
making babies, and making money.
Yep,
that's what he's doing now.
Yep,
that's well, yeah,
So he's pampered and absolutely loved, and gets to hang with all the ladies.
Yeah.
So frankly, not a terrible life.
No, I guess not. I guess he ran a few and now it paid off. So good for him.
Absolutely. So the Kentucky Derby is this week, is this Saturday. My client does not have a horse in it, but she does have a horse in the race the day before, which is the Kentucky Oaks. I'm pretty sure it's the Kentucky Oaks that she's running in. So I'll keep an eye on that horse, because that's a pretty big qualifier too. So if her horse wins that, she may qualify for more things.
Then they get to run again tomorrow, huh?
Well, not for the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, okay.
Kentucky Derby's already set. Nobody else.
Okay. But you might get to run in the Belmont or something.
Future, down the line race, yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, boy, that sounds like not a lot of time to prep. Like if you.
It is not. It is not. So quick quiz.
Yeah.
Bill,
sure.
Do you know how many horses have won the Triple Crown?
I think only one horse can win a year.
Oh, yes. The Triple Crown has been running for a very long time. So how many horses have won it over time?
I'm gonna say 150.
That is an interesting guess, but you are wrong.
Okay.
Only 13 horses have ever won the Belmont, or ever won the Triple Crown.
Oh, the Triple Crown. I thought I was just answering for the Kentucky Derby.
No.
Oh, okay. The Triple Crown, only 13. Yeah, that sounds more reasonable. Yeah, winning 3 of them is probably harder.
Yes. And there have been, so the 13 horses, there was a horse.
Lawnmower's got about 13 horses, right?
Yeah.
Riding mower.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sir Barton won in 1919.
Okay.
And then there wasn't a Triple Crown winner until 1930.
Oh, yeah?
And then Omaha won in 1935. War Admiral won in 1937. And Whirlaway won in 1941. And so there was a whole bunch, like from the 30s to 40s.
Yeah.
So there was 1941, 1943, and 1946. And then in 1948. And then the next one was probably one of the most famous in 1973 was Secretariat.
I see, yes.
And last year, because in 1973 to 2003, right? So the Belmont Stakes was a big deal because it was an anniversary of when Secretariat won his Triple Crown. So there's all kinds of Secretariat stuff going on. Yeah. And then there was a horse in 77 and 78. And then there was a big gap until 2015. And then 2018 was the last one.
Okay.
In 2018, Justified, there's some controversy because, like with many professional sports, because doping.
Yeah.
So did they dope that horse?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. That happens everywhere. You know, you think you can look up to somebody like this guy riding a bike all the time, and then the next thing you know, what a disappointment, you know?
Well, I think the worst part about him, first of all, I saw him recently on in Lance Armstrong, in case you're wondering who we're talking about. I'm sure you could figure it out. But he was on a reality competition show not that long ago. Mm-hmm. And he's just an ass.
Yeah, which he always was, I guess. But he was an inspirational story because he's like, oh, he's overcome cancer and he's winning the Tour de France or whatever. And then, you know, it comes out, well, you know, it turns out, yeah, not single-handedly, really. Although single testicularly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think what made it worse is because he denied it for so long.
Yeah.
Like, people kept asking him, like, I think you're doping. And he's like, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And then, hey, guess what? Doping the whole time.
I know, yeah. Yeah, turns out it was. Yeah. Yeah. And then it was like, yeah.
So this show isn't just about racehorses, although that's kind of what I've been working on lately.
And other kinds of horses.
There are other kinds of horses in the world.
Racing, they do other things. Horses, they do stuff.
There are lots of kinds of horses.
Okay.
Well, and there, I mean, you know, everything from teeny little miniatures all the way up to like great big Clydesdales. So
yeah.
Oh, and they all have different jobs, kind of like dogs. They all are bred to do different jobs.
So, okay. So tell me this. What are the little ones bred for? What do they want with those?
Partially. Okay. So I probably don't know all of it because I've never really been around miniature horses, but I think the primary purpose of them is to have tiny horses.
Okay. So it's just because we could.
Because we could. I do know that there are some really cool organizations with miniature horses that do like therapy horses, like they'll go into hospitals or things like that, and they have really good little temperaments. Most of them are cool horses.
Oh, I've always heard that they'll bite the hell out of you.
Well, except for little Sebastian.
He's in the good place.
He's in the bad place, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I do know sometimes they're therapy, and I do know that you can actually train a miniature horse to be a
service animal.
Yeah, what's the word I'm looking for?
Service animal.
Service animal. That's the word.
Yeah.
So
open doors for you and stuff. I saw one. I sent you a picture because I saw one at a place about a month ago. Right, I was somewhere and there was some miniature horses in a cage. Although this one had a sore throat, because he was a little horse.
Yeah. I'll pause for the audience to laugh. I need to put a laugh track in.
I know, right?
I keep missing. I can do sound effects now, and I just haven't fucked with it. So.
Oh yeah. Well, and sometimes I remember, like, you know, I'll pull up a thing on the phone, but I forget most of the time. So
I just need to remind myself to do it.
Right.
Takes time to learn how to do it. Anyway. Okay.
So moving on, other kinds of horses besides race horses and miniature horses. What do you got?
Well, and originally I had separated this out into several lists, but then I was that was too much for me. So I just have TV, movie, and books. Horses and TV shows, movies, and books.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just mention draft horses because I know that's a thing.
Draft horses are definitely a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Clydesdales.
Sure, yeah, the Budweiser Clydesdales, which if you watch a football game, you should be familiar with because, you know, they used to come on all the time, especially when we were kids. Oh my God, those were a big deal back in the 70s. Those commercials always had those horses, you know?
Right.
I think they must have retired too, because I haven't seen them in a while.
No, they are still doing it. Okay. But here's a fun fact about Clydesdales.
Okay.
Is that they are an endangered breed of horse, and there are only 2,000 Clydesdales in the United States.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
They used to be just horses in Scotland. That was just like your general Scottish horse.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that why they have the fur on their like over their hooves because they're
Yeah,
cold?
they have the fur on there.
Although the little ponies are called Shetland ponies, and that's also that's actually north of Scotland. That's almost Norway, you know.
Right.
And I'm always curious, like, there's a bunch of things called Shetland this and Shetland that, and most of the time they're small. And I always wonder, is it actually from Shetland, or is that just a word we do associate with small things? Because
I don't know. As far as I know, Shetland ponies were originated from Shetland.
Okay, so
And
somebody up
Shetland
there.
ponies, not to be confused with miniature horses, because Shetland ponies are, different situation. They're just small ponies.
Okay.
As opposed to
what's the difference between a pony and a horse?
Their height, basically.
Oh. Okay. So pony is a small horse?
Yeah, I mean, horse people will argue a variety of different definitions, but for the most part, they're just small horses.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know, because I had no idea. I thought they were synonyms, or that a pony was like a young horse or something.
Nope.
That's a
pony.
yearling.
A foal is a young horse until they become yearlings, but
they got too many words. I guess we got words for people too, though. We're like, you're a toddler and you're a child and you're a, adolescent and you're a teenager, blah, blah, blah. So it's like that.
And and eventually people make up new words like
seems superfluous, but whatever. Like, how many words do you need for a horse?
Well, I'm very familiar with the stages of horses because the whole thoroughbred industry is they're foals when they're born, obviously, and then they're weanlings. So when they get weaned from their mom, they're weanlings.
That's when you can sell them, right?
Well, yes, that's when you can sell them. And then yearlings.
I mean, I see why that's important, because now you can sell them. Like, that's a thing. Yeah, okay. Because because it's a business.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And most of them don't get sold immediately. Like, you'll buy weanlings. You don't necessarily immediately separate them. Like, you might buy a weanling, but you don't get that weanling for a while.
Okay, you come pick it up after it's probably a yearling, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you buy them as weanlings. Sometimes when, I know the thoroughbreds at this farm, I don't think they get them, not the day they're separated from their mother. Like, there's usually, a little bit of time. Yeah. And then they're sold as weanlings. They're not quite a year old, but they're not, attached to their mother anymore.
Sure.
But they don't do any training of the weanlings. The weanlings just get to be horses.
Oh, okay.
So they all live out in a pasture together.
Yeah.
And when the first time I went down to visit my client's horse farm, she's like, "So are you brave?" And I'm like, "Maybe. What do you want?" She's like, "Well, come here." And we went into a pasture that had all the weanlings in it. And so they were probably getting close to a year at this point. And yeah, I mean, talk about it. We were just surrounded by 10 horses.
Yeah.
10 young horses. And they want to herd you. Like, they want to put you in the middle of their group. So they all just surround you.
But they didn't. Really... Okay. But that's not all they don't do anything malicious after that, right?
No. I don't know. Usually you try to get out from that. One did bite Matt. So
okay.
He did get bit. I mean, it was not. Horses have strong bites.
Yeah. They got big long faces. Why wouldn't they? And also big teeth. They not sharp teeth, but big teeth.
Right.
It's not. They might not draw blood, but it's gonna feel like a pinch.
Yeah. He had a big bruise on his arm for a while.
Right.
All right. So TV, books, and movies. I know that one of your several of your favorite horses come from the small screen.
Yes. I'm very into TV horses. I do like that.
Mr. Ed, you mentioned.
Mr. Ed, yes. And also, I want to mention Mr. Ed. Okay, so because the idea, I mean, it was just, gosh, when you're a kid, how amusing is that watching a horse flap his gums and talk, right?
Right.
It's just funny. I mean, it's still shit. I'd watch that now. If they rebooted that, I'd probably watch it. You know, if they made a new version. Although, no, it would suck now because they, instead of giving the horse peanut butter, they would CGI it.
Right, exactly.
Yes, like, so never mind. Like, retract that. I don't want to see it. But it was, it was a funny show, you know, because the horse got into antics and shit, and he was just always, you know, I don't know, he was always had something to say, right? So, but he would only say it to the one guy, which made the guy look like a fool because he'd be like, "Hey, my horse can talk," and people were like, "Oh, you're crazy." So, you know.
Well, specifically Wilbur.
Wilbur, yeah.
So, yeah. No, I think the thing, well, and also when we were kids was when Nick at Night was a thing.
Sure,
so a lot of the old shows that we were, you know, way too young for were all on.
This was a black and white show to be, you know, like, so way pre-exists our, although I wanted to mention briefly, and this is not a horse, but it was the precursor to Mr. Ed, was there was a movie called Francis the Talking Mule.
Right.
It was kind of like, without that, there wouldn't have been a Mr. Ed. I mean, it was where they got the idea, like, you know, you can rub some shit on their gums and they'll look like they're talking, you know.
Well, that's just, it's also just, I mean, yes, you give them peanut butter and they will do it, but that's also just natural horse behavior. They use their lips like.
Oh yeah, they do. They still do that anyway. You'll see them doing it, but like, if you really want them to get going, you give them some peanut butter.
Some peanut butter. Well, and to be fair, a mule is. A mule is not a horse.
Right.
A mule is half a horse.
Yeah.
Part horse, part donkey.
Part horse, part donkey. And yeah, all good times. My only experience riding any equine animal is riding a mule, which, you know, they behave similarly to horses. They'll bite you or whatever, you know.
Right. So surprisingly, even though I grew up loving horses, I didn't ride them a lot. When I think I may have ridden a horse once when I was a kid, because I went to my best friend when like preteen best friend was a horse girl, so she would ride at you know, she did lessons, and I'm pretty sure I got on a horse once then. But then the next time I got on a horse was I was in my early 20s, and we went out to Washington State. And we did one of those like horse tours, you know, where you ride a trail ride.
Yeah, that's what I did with the mule. That's a trail ride on a mule one time. And that's really,
it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I wouldn't not do it again. You know, it was all right.
Yeah, it was all right. But your next favorite fictional horse, television horse, which we had talked about on a previous episode, but under different circumstances, is BoJack Horseman.
Yeah, because he's a complex horse.
He's a horse with a drinking problem and an existential crisis.
Yeah, he's got a lot of things going on, you know, and he's working on. Well, he's not working hard on himself, but eventually he is. You know, takes him a while to get there, you know, but he definitely, yeah, you know, for a show about an anthropomorphic horse, it was a very, you know, and some other silly things that go on. I mean, you know, there's a bunch of anthropomorphic animals and other antics that happen, but at the same time, in spite of all that, a very real show about mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think BoJack Horseman may be one of the best shows ever made. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, that's the premise. Like, not only is the main character a horse, if you've not seen it, pause this show, go watch it all on Netflix, and then come back, finish the show. Right. But it's it is truly one of my favorite shows. But not only is the main character not even just anthropomorphic, all of the animals are like human body, animal head.
Right.
And they all exist in like a human-like world.
Where there still are humans, by the way.
Where there are also still humans, yes. But also still other animals. Because in various scenes there are the human birds, but then sometimes they're just regular birds.
Like birds. Okay.
Sometimes there's like regular squirrels. But so I don't understand the rules of this universe at all.
Yeah.
But I don't really need to. And not only are there humans, there's still regular humans and then these animal humans. But everybody is intermixing.
Yeah. You can date an interspecial like thing. You know, there's no like taboos. Nobody's like, oh gosh, you're dating a lizard lady or anything like that. And like nobody thinks anything about it.
And yes, and they often will mix like human characters with animal characters, and then animal characters with other animal characters.
Yeah.
So but it's just so damn good. Like it's just such a good show.
It's really brilliant, you know. And one of the other more preposterous things that happened in it that's unbelievable, but at the same time is kind of. I was talking to Emily about this earlier today. Was the 3 children in a trench coat that thing, which is an old premise because it goes back to like Little Rascals or something, you know, like
right.
The idea of like 3 children in a trench coat sneaking into a movie or something. I don't know
right.
what they're doing, but you know, it's kind of like this old premise that gets rehashed every now and again, but it's because it's so preposterous that it's hilarious, right?
And in this particular case, it's even more ridiculous
because they're so fucking obvious. And then, but then also, I mean, but it has a purpose, which is that they're dating an adult woman who seemingly has blinders on about the whole thing because I think she's just that lonely or you know needs somebody that she's like, I don't care or whatever. It's 3 children in a trench coat. I'll just overlook it, you know.
I truly think it's so. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not even really about a horse.
No.
Although one of my favorite running storylines on the show was because BoJack is also a washed-up actor.
Yes.
And he had been on a show in the 90s called Horsing Around, right?
Right.
So that's a big part of it because now he's a washed-up actor, so that's part of his ennui. But he goes out for and gets the lead role in the movie Secretariat.
Yeah.
And I love that because they actually they make Secretariat like a track star. Because you obviously can't be riding Secretariat in a race. So you have to Secretariat has his own locomotion.
Right.
And it's just silly and funny.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
No, that was a great thing. So what else did I say? I don't even remember. This is a long time ago.
You mentioned Supergirl's horse, Comet.
Oh yeah, that's only that's funny because some of the storylines are just cockamamie. Like so, at one point, Supergirl's horse Comet thinks for the reader that boy, if I wasn't a horse and she wasn't a girl, I tell you what.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you're just like, man, who writes this shit? Like, and this was back during the days when I guess they weren't allowed to show a lot of violence and things in comic books. So they had to come up with other crazy shit. This is when, you know, like whenever you see comic books that are like really silly, you know, like Batman and Robin just getting into antics and stuff. It's because there was the comics code and they had to work around that because they like didn't want like somebody made some stink that the comic books were going to make all the kids gay or make you violent or whatever the hell. So they came up with all this crazy stuff that you can't do this and you can't do that in comic books. And so then comic books kind of went off the rails into zany stuff. But there's little weird shit like that. Like this horse kind of like, you know, sexually fantasizing about this girl because I guess because they can't put other shit in there, you know.
Right. And for some reason, that didn't trip anybody's concerns.
Right. I know. Like why didn't that hit the radar? Like,
that's fine.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it's a horse. You know, yeah, of course.
But doesn't he have an origin story? He's not just a horse, right?
I mean, he's a super horse, right? I don't know what his origin is. I don't really like. Yeah, I think I know about. I can't remember the cat and the dog. I think somehow or another got exposed to kryptonite, and it made them super or something. But I don't know what happened to the horse.
Let's see. Let's pull up
let's see. What's comic DC Comics? Let's see what his origin story is. Let's see.
And Matt cosplayed this horse at one point.
Yes, he did. Because one year I decided I needed to do Streaky the Super Cat. So I made a whole Streaky the Super Cat costume, and Matt did Comet the Super Horse. So let's see. He is. Yeah, geez, like he doesn't. I mean, it just says he is a super horse.
Oh, maybe he's a horse from Krypton. Maybe like crash landed on Earth. I don't know what his deal is.
He's one of. What? Whoa, the story gets even weirder than I thought. So this is out of context. This is literally a paragraph in the Wikipedia.
Okay.
But so Comet is one of a series of superpowered animals, which we know, including Streaky, that were popular in DC Comics of the 60s. Comet was Supergirl's pet horse, and while in his human form as Bill's star, her brief boyfriend.
Yeah, he had a thing for her. That's what I'm saying.
Also but apparently he was also human.
Oh, he was able to actualize his thing for her for a minute.
Yeah, and he also had a brief romance with Lois Lane.
Huh. I mean, he's a horse, you know.
Oh, here we go.
When he wasn't a horse, did he go around and tell people, I'm part horse?
So he's not just, Jesus Christ, this gets weird. He described to Supergirl telepathically that he was originally a centaur in ancient Greece. And the witch
he made that shit up. He was not.
The witch Circe gave him a potion to turn him fully human after he prevented a evil sorcerer from poisoning the water. But by mistake, she made him a fully horse instead.
Right.
So now Circe's incompetent.
Yeah, sure she did. Right.
Yeah, this is an insane story.
Yeah, well, it's the kind of story a horse who's in love with a teenage girl might make up.
Kind of a story that even for a comic book, it's a little weird.
It is a tad goofy, yes.
He did go on. This is my favorite part. After he met Supergirl, he went on a mission with her to the planet Xerox.
Oh yeah? What do they do? Make some copies?
That's all I can think of. This is good stuff. All right, yeah. So Super Horse.
Yeah. How great is that? That's
then that made me think of Bad Horse.
Oh yeah.
From Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Right.
Which, doesn't I realize that the creator of Dr. Horrible's is kind of, definitely has sort of a negative reputation these days. Yeah, it got a little horrible. But that because it came out during the first writer's strike, not the first writer's strike, but the writer's strike that happened in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And I mean, it was 45 minutes of absolute brilliance that they made, just low budget, but with big stars. And it was so good. But the main evil villain for like the super villains was Bad Horse. Which is just funny, and it's a joke throughout the entire thing, and you never see Bad Horse until the very end, and he's literally just a horse. But he's bad.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to be called that.
But speaking of bad, of course, we mentioned Lil Sebastian.
Yeah.
Who, of course, the pride of Pawnee in Parks and Rec.
Yeah, sadly departed, but he went on to an afterlife.
He did go on to an afterlife. And then I have listed, and you mentioned this, that you remember this from when you were a kid, this book, and it became a movie, I think at some point, Black Beauty.
Yeah, there was a movie in the 80s that I saw. I think there was a TV series also called Black Beauty, BBC series or something, which I did not watch, don't know anything about. But I saw a movie, and it was about this this like I want to say like a ship sinks or something, and this boy and this racehorse are the only two things that wash up on the beach. You know.
That is absolutely not the story of Black Beauty at all.
Well, this is what the movie was in the 80s, and it was this boy and this racehorse wash up on this beach, and they become fast friends because I guess they're the only two things that washed up on the beach together.
Yeah.
I want to say the horse stomps a snake to death or something and saves the boy or something like that at one point. And
I am I've never seen or heard of this movie, and I am fascinated by it.
I should rewatch it. I haven't seen it since I was a child. I was probably like in first grade or something when I saw this.
Because the book Black Beauty is nothing to do with it.
The BBC series follows the book. Maybe it's not. Oh, this is called the Black Stallion. Sorry.
The Black Stallion. Yes.
Yes, this wasn't Black Beauty. Sorry.
I remember the Black Stallion.
Another one that I'm only aware of, but I never have read, was My Friend Flicka. You know that?
Yeah, I never read that either, but I'm familiar with it.
I figured you said you were a horse girl, and what you meant was you were mostly a literary horse girl, right? So.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I didn't read that book, but I think most of these books came out in the 60s or 70s. But there was an author named Marguerite Henry who wrote. Her entire career was writing books about horses, and they were fiction, like mid-grade fiction books, like intended for like sixth graders, kind of thing. And she had tons of them. And so her most famous is Misty of Shinneteague, which is about the wild ponies on Shinneteague Island off of the coast of Maryland.
Okay.
And Misty was, it was this sweet story there, Misty and some kids and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's a thing we forgot to talk about, was all the wild stallions that live all up and down the coast of the eastern U.S. because of Spaniards leaving them there.
Right.
Years and years ago, right?
Right. And they do still all up and down, all the way from the Maryland area all the way down south to Florida. Yeah,
there's islands all over the place that got wild horses because I guess either there would be a shipwreck and the horses would wash up and be like, well, I guess this is where we live now.
I guess we live here.
Or the Spaniards would come here to conquer something, and then when they went to go back, they're like, we don't want to feed horses all the way back across the ocean. Fuck that. Let's just leave them.
Right.
So the horses would be like, well, we'll make do.
Well, so it's interesting. Horses are, we have the strongest fossil record of horse evolution than any other species.
Oh, really?
So people who study evolution, the horses is the easiest way to see the progression. And all the way from very, very early horses, which were like little teeny tiny, like mammal-y things. I mean, they're still mammals, but they were little teeny tiny things that looked more like, I don't know, like
a goody or a capybara or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then they over time evolved to be what they are now. But there are fossil records of ancient horses in the United States. But apparently the horses took the opposite route than the indigenous people.
Oh, so they
went into Asia.
Peace out. We're done with this continent.
We're done with this continent. We don't want it anymore. So they went in through Asia, and then, of course, eventually over time got domesticated throughout Asia and Europe. Mm-hmm. And then they were not in the U.S. again until they came with the Spanish. Gotcha.
Okay. So there was no middle horse in the Americas. There was only like ancient horse and modern horse.
Yes. Yeah. And by modern horse, we mean, the like 1600s, whenever the Spanish came here.
Yes. I mean, horses called horses, like since they were horses and not pre-horse or whatever the hell they used to be.
Not pre-horses. Not pre-horses.
Right.
But Black Beauty, I do remember the Black Stallion, now that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Black Beauty was written in 1877 by Anna Sewell. And it was the first book about like animal rights.
Oh, okay.
Black Beauty was a carriage horse, and the book talked about how cruel it was, like the types of bits that they used and the type of treatment that carriage horses had. and
Okay.
it followed Black Beauty's entire life. And it was really about like animal welfare and animal rights.
Okay.
I mean, how far we came, but also I think we're almost done. But I do need to mention, of course, there were all the cowboy horses, right?
Oh yeah.
Silver, Trigger.
Yeah. What do we decide? Not Roy Rogers. What? Gene Autry. What was his horse's name?
Was that Champion?
Champion. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mentioned to you that I knew the name of Robert E. Lee's horse only because there's a bazillion high schools in the South named Robert E. Lee, and oftentimes their mascot was named Traveler or something like that, or their yearbook was named Traveler, or something at the school would be called Traveler, named after his horse.
Right.
So I'm aware of that horse's name only because of that,
Yeah, well, I do. I'm, perplexed and amused at the fact that the South was like, we lost this war, but man, we're gonna embrace it.
Yeah, let's make it a thing.
Ooh, Victor, the Lone Ranger's nephew's horse.
He's like, come along, Lone Ranger's nephew and Victor.
Yeah, this is my cousin.
What was the Lone Ranger's nephew's name? Do we know his name? Or
I don't know.
Victor
I didn't even know he had a nephew.
I know, I didn't either.
I was today years old when I found that out. And I do want to mention some fantasy horses that obviously there's too many horses. But we talked about this too. Artax.
Artax, yeah.
Especially our generation.
Oh.
Oh. I see. The Lone Ranger, yes, that is a Christmas story joke that I did not get because it's not Christmas and I wasn't thinking about it.
No, and I haven't seen Christmas Story. I haven't watched that on TV in like 20 years because
even though you could watch it for 24 hours straight,
I could watch it every year over and over again. I haven't seen it since I want to say the like late 90s, early 2000s.
I haven't actively watched it in quite some time, but like often we'd be at like somebody's Christmas party and they would have it on the 24-hour network that would show it. So I would see parts of it.
Okay.
Over short periods of time. Again. But yeah, Artax, ruined many of people's childhood.
Yeah.
Gen X, our entire experience is about animals and existential crises. Fragile. Indeed. So, and
Italian.
Yes, it's Italian. It's fancy. And I do really quick want to mention Shadowfax because if you're cool like Gandalf, you get a cool horse.
And you know what? Shadowfax was so important that someone named a new age jazz band after him.
That's right.
They were on. I want to say they were on Windham Hill. If you're into that sort of thing.
I'm not, but I am aware. Well, the 70s, people were just dying for Lord of the Rings in the 70s.
Oh yeah, they were crazy about that stuff.
Everything was Lord of the Rings.
You could write an entire album that was just Lord of the Rings references, citrus fruit, and sexual innuendo.
Right? You could definitely. So speaking of, we of course know the famous ones, the famous albums of that sort. But I recently discovered there was a prog synth composer out of one of the Scandinavian countries in the 70s who wrote a whole Lord of the Rings like prog opera, or not even like prog symphony. Like there were no lyrics.
Oh, okay.
But then he also wrote one which is not available on Spotify, but he also, because I was looking for it, he also wrote one for Watership Down.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, this is right up your alley then.
Yeah, exactly. So I was looking for it. I'm like, man, why can't I get that one? That's the one I want.
Yeah. All right. You have to tell me about it off camera or something.
Well, sure. All right. So I think it is 8:00 now.
Yeah.
I think we are done. We've beaten the horse, the dead horse.
The dead horse, yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you found that our show was unbridled in its passion for these beautiful animals. And, that you could harness some sort of knowledge from it.
Oh, geez. Do you just have a list of horse puns with you?
No, I just know a lot of horse puns. It's one of my things.
Oh,
Anyway.
the bartender said, "Why the long face?"
Yeah. Well, it's because of my alcoholism tearing my family apart. That's one of my favorite horse jokes. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all we need.
It takes a morbid twist, and I like that, you know.
All right, so we're done. Why don't you take us away?
All righty then. Just a little bit of things I got to say. Bill Has Opinions is engineered and produced by Laura Lavoie. The opinions of Bill are his and his alone, unless Laura agreed with them, in which case, they agreed, blah, blah, blah. This show, I guess mostly was Laura's opinions about horses, mostly. I mean,
you have opinions about horses.
Okay, I got opinions. You have facts. You knew more about horses. I don't know that much about them. Yeah, they're cool. They're cool to look at, whatever.
They're cool.
They do their thing. Anyways, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Hashtag Can't Miss Bill Shit. If you have something to say, a question, a comment, concern, be sure to buy some merch. Scan this thing and buy some merch. What was I saying? Yeah. If you have something to say to us, a question, comment, concern, idea for future show, be sure to hashtag us and whatever social media you're on and say Can't Miss Bill Shit or Opinion Gang, and we'll find it, and respond to it. And be sure to tune in next week when we talk about
One Hit Wonders.
One Hit Wonders. How about that? Hit Me Baby One More Time. That's not one of them, because she had more than one hit.
Yeah, I was going to say she had a lot of hits.
Yeah, it's a lot of hits. Yes, but but one hit one more time. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I was trying to think of a horse thing, but I can't. Okay, never mind. Okay, well, see you then.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Okay.